Today, I wanted to talk about what punk rock can teach us about making art. So, not long ago, I was invited by my good friend Cole Glass to come watch some Shakespeare with him. Cole is a writer and a film director and was going through a phase where he was studying everything he could about Shakespeare. And one of the recommendations he received while doing his study is that you have to see Shakespeare perform to really understand it. So he had been trying to watch different film adaptations, but he was also going to see more Shakespeare performed live. And so he invited me to go along with him to this performance, but he also explained to me that it wasn't an ordinary Shakespeare performance. It was going to be performed by a local acting troupe, the Grassroots Shakespearean Company, and their manifesto is really kind of interesting. This is just off the top of my head, so maybe you should go to their website and find exactly what they do, but this is what I remember. So they do everything on a portable stage. They haul around wherever they go. And this performance happened to be at a park, so I was basically sitting on this grassy knoll watching the play. Each actor is responsible to create their own costume. They have live music played by a small troupe throughout the performance. There's no director; it's kind of all co-directed by everyone. The audience is encouraged to interact. They engage, they heckle, and they boo. And here's one of the other key things. They put each performance together fast. I believe they prepare and rehearse everything within 48 hours. So I went to Cole with this performance. Like I said, it was in the park, and we were up on this grassy knoll, and it was a beautiful summer day. And one of the other cool twists about this performance was that they were performing Julius Caesar, but they had gender swapped Julius Caesar. Well, not gender swapped. It was all performed by females. And the idea is basically that back in the day, men played all of the female roles in Shakespeare. So because Julius Caesar is like 90% men, all the roles were played by women, including the women roles. So it's kind of gender swapping, but it's gender swapping the original way that Shakespeare did things, not necessarily the roles in the play. Man, I got to tell you, this is one of the coolest plays I have ever watched. The performances were energetic, passionate, and really fun. There was never an issue in my mind with the gender swapping. Everyone was totally committed to their roles. Granted, there were some standout performances, and there was better actors than others, but there weren't really any weak links. The audience was yelling and booing and laughing the whole time, which I'm sure is partially due to the fact that lots of people that are members of this company go and watch each other in the plays, and they kind of yell at each other and help get the audience riled up. It was a lot of fun. And then about halfway through, these like ominous rain clouds just rolled in, and it started to sprinkle a little bit, and then there was this torrential downpour. But not anyone on this grassy knoll left. And not only did the actors keep going, but you could see that the rain actually energized them. It was crazy, but it was actually like the rain had been choreographed to match the pacing of the play. Just as it got more frenetic and crazy and murderous, intense, just the rain just picked up and was pouring down. So it was just one of those really unusual, bizarre, unexpected just perfect experiences that you could never plan. And it just really got me reflecting on art and got me excited about thinking about art and making of art. And there's this kind of particular way of making art that the Grassroots Shakespearean Company had really highlighted for me. I think it's got a lot in common with punk rock. So I think the best way to describe this art is to describe it as punk rock art. I might just call it punk rock as in this discussion. You could probably also call it like the Dionysian mode. But there's this kind of inherent dichotomy and kind of this Apollonian and Dionysian thing that I don't totally agree with. So I kind of like punk rock more. And plus we're all more familiar with what punk rock is. So what makes punk rock, and especially art that is punk rock? The best way I could sum it up would be that it's art that's made quickly, simply, and passionately. So think about a classic Ramones song. They're really short, They're made up of three chords and they're done with distortion and volume turned all the way up. And as I think back on many of my most fulfilling art experiences, they fit into this category. They didn't have a ton of planning. My skills were, lacking to say the least, and I did them with lots of passion. And some of these things were the funnest things, and there's some things that I'm still very proud of. I feel like there's something super important about making this type of art. And I've been trying to get to the bottom of what it is that is so moving and satisfying about creating punk rock. And I think there are a number of things that make it a very crucial part of living, and that also sadly make it clear how much this type of experience is lacking and is needed. First, punk is democratic. You have no idea how many times I have people sheepishly admit to me when we bring up the topic of drawing that they like to draw. Or they show me their sketchbooks and they're apologetic about them, or with the caveat that they're not very good. There are already enough voices out there telling us that we are not good enough, or that your drawing or your singing have to be at a certain standard to be considered quote unquote real art. But the truth is that art is a fundamental part of being human. All of us have the simple tools necessary to express ourselves artistically, whether it's a scribble with a stick figure, a scream or a cry, or a weathered voice breaking with sorrow. There are dancers that can do exquisite and heroic things with their bodies, but my children's lack of those abilities doesn't make the joy of them moving their bodies to song any more clear. I tell you, there's nothing more fun than to watch my children spontaneously break out into dance under the most absurd circumstances. We live in a culture where our expression is so hampered. Passionate art made simply is a powerful way to give a voice to everybody. Art is for everyone. Everyone can make art. That's kind of the first big message of punk rock. Second, sincerity is everything. I've mentioned Pascal Champion before, and how he sees portfolios of students that are very skilled and yet they have nothing to say. Art made from the heart, whether it is to express grief or frustration or love or pure joy, will always trump art made well but without feeling. The painter Raymond Kinsler would also emphasize this. He said, whatever you paint, paint it with feeling. And practicing punk rock is a way to remind us of what is important in a piece of art. Because you don't have to get caught up in making it perfect, you can focus on making it sincere and meaningful. You've probably heard the phrase, anything worth doing is worth doing well. Well, it's equally true that anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. If you love to dance or draw or sing, who cares how good you are at it? If it makes you happy, do it, and do it with all your heart. The great thing is that if you love to do something you're horrible at, over time, you will also get better. Third, punk rock will make you more creative. Making good art comes in two phases. You have this kind of creating phase, and then you have this editing phase. Creating is the phase where you come up with all the crazy, out there, ringing the bell, new ideas. And editing is the phase where you edit and sculpt those ideas to make them the best possible. Now, nothing hampers the creative process and this kind of creative phase more than when you start editing too early. You don't need to question every decision or flight in the creating stage. Just go. Let out the part of yourself that is essential to express. Scream, cry, laugh, or whatever the artistic equivalents are of those. Come back later if you want to tidy it up. Fourth, punk rock helps you to remove unnecessary distractions. It teaches you to express yourself efficiently and minimally. When you're forced to do things quickly, you have to be efficient and remove the distractions and the fluff. You do this enough, and you learn what matters and can discard the unnecessary. Do we really need more than 3 chords to sing a good song? Do we really need more detail than Mike Mignola puts into a Hellboy comic? So those are kind of the reasons why I think we need punk rock and why that helps make us healthy artistically. And I just wanted to offer a few brief ways that you can incorporate more of that into your life. First, look for opportunities to work fast and without consequences. There's lots of different competitions and events, something like 24-hour comic day, that is about just making a simple piece of work quickly. Try to tell short stories, try to make short pieces of art, try to sketch. But you can even break those challenges down even more. You could take a single hour and create a challenge to do a one page full story comic in an hour. You can look up a random idea generator and get some words that you have to incorporate into your story and make up something on the spot. I think that'd be a fantastic way to really test your ability to do something creative and passionately. Another thing to do is to work in a medium, a different medium. Maybe you do a 24-hour film competition, or just play around, goof around, and choreograph a dance in an afternoon. You can create a sculpture out of stuff you would normally recycle. Just anything that is in a different medium that you're going to suck at, where you can really just exercise being creative and being passionate and being quick. I would also say that you should make punk rock the beginning of every project you do, even the stuff you're serious about. Start every project with a phase that is fast and passionate. Maybe you're writing a treatment for a script. Go from beginning to end as fast as you can and make it as apeshit crazy as possible. You're going to throw out a lot of that stuff, I'm sure, at some point, but there's going to be stuff there that's going to be amazing ideas that you will hold on to till the very end. There's a great quote from Henry Miller's Rules for Work that I have actually scrawled on my writing desk, or my drawing desk, that is perfect for creating in this mode. It says, work calmly, joyously, recklessly on whatever is in hand. Save the editing for later. The last thing I would say is to prepare for improv. So I've been talking a lot about punk rock as this template for making art, but there's another similar form of art, and that's jazz. And jazz is improvisation. It's clearly more complex than punk rock. I mean, as John Goodman says in Inside Llewyn Davis, we play all 12 notes. But the same passion and off the top of the head quickness applies. The only difference is the preparation. For a jazz musician, you want to play lots and lots of scales in every key, so that when the moment for improv comes, you have something to build your improvisation on. It's the same for freestyle rapping. Like, you'll hear about like MCs that they'll save up rhymes. They'll write a lot of rhymes, and then when they're freestyling, they kind of just rearrange and kind of stitch them together. And for an artist, many of the fundamentals of art can become those improvisational tools. You can store up shapes and forms and knowledge about anatomy and construction and improvisationally put it on paper. And one really fun exercise to do this, which I really should demonstrate one of these days, is no sketch drawing. You get a marker or something else that you can't erase, and you just start drawing. And the one rule is that you don't sketch. Figure things out in your head. Take your time and just draw the stuff that you know, and whatever comes to the top of your head. One of the great side benefits of this is this really reveals the gaps in your drawing game. Things that you know how to draw really, really well, they'll come easy to you as you do this, and things that you're less confident about and that could use more work, those are things that are going to be obvious as you're going through this. So, that's it. Go listen to sermons, get amped, and stop questioning every decision you make, and just go make some art from the heart. Well, thanks for listening to me rant about punk rock for a little while. Please subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time.